Have you ever wondered what it would be like for two doctors, busy doctors, to juggle life, marriage, and raising two kids? Well, today I've got my husband with me on this channel so that we can discuss just that. How do we combine our marriage, our kids, our careers, and everything in between? So, Chris, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so hi, my name's Chris, as Remy has put there. I'm a doctor. I work principally in sport, mainly football, which obviously, as you can imagine, football being quite a intense sport, means I'm quite busy, relatively busy, I'd say, especially at weekends. And I'm also a GP on the side as well.
And I'm an obstetrics and gynecology registrar, mainly in the London area. Up until recently, I have been working less than full time, which in my specific situation means that I have one day off a week. And I do have a video that I'll link in here somewhere talking about being less than full time. So we've got 3 questions that we're going to answer to give you an idea of what our lives and our schedules are like. All right, so how did we meet?
So we met at uni. It was through a mutual friend, I believe. And yeah, we knew each other for a couple of years at uni. And then after a couple of years, got closer, spent some time together, and the rest is history, as they would say.
Yeah, so we've been together, I think, for 15 plus years.
Yeah.
And married for close to 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So our first question, which I think will be quite useful for us to answer, is what are your biggest challenges when balancing your medical careers and parenting? So I'll let Chris go first.
So I think biggest challenges, obviously, is time. There's not enough hours in a day when it comes to balancing our careers and parenting. I think so. A big challenge obviously is actually doing it. The key thing is obviously making sure that you're taking your career seriously as well, because I think there can be a lot of times where you put off maybe going the extra mile at work, or you potentially have time off work and to spend time with the family, and that obviously disadvantages you in the workplace. And likewise the other way around. Obviously it's with your kids. You want to make sure you spend really, they're not young forever, and there's key moments in their life, milestones, for example, when they're kids that you don't want to miss. I think in particular with me, probably is the weekends, a bit more closer to home. There's a lot of football at weekends, and that's coincides with when the kids are obviously off school. So yeah, I really struggle obviously making a lot of their free time and making use of their free time for things that we all enjoy, I think, for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the biggest challenge is that you are individually successful in your career, but you also want to be successful as a parent, making sure that you're there for the kids, taking them out, and not just relegating them to school, after school care, childcare, grandparents. And I think that's been a huge challenge for me. I think definitely in the early parts of my career, I probably prioritized being a mum over my success at work. And now I'm trying to find a bit more balance. Yeah, those would be my biggest challenges. So the next question is, what tips do we have for managing time with the kids, especially when we're both on call? I think that's a really good. So I think, again, before Chris started working in football, it was easier because he was working as a GP, which meant that he could drop the kids off, go to work, and typically pick them up, even though I knew it was stressful for him. Because again, if you know GPs in this country, they have quite long days, even though they're not supposed to. But for me, it meant that I never really had to think about the weekends because he didn't work, and I didn't really need to think about the night shifts because he would always be there. But since football, where he'll go away with the team, in July they're away for a couple of weeks, which was harsh. But anyway, where they'll go away with the team, work on the weekends. If I'm now doing nights, it just gives me more pause about who's going to watch the kids, when are they going to watch them. And I think the tips that we have is communication. So we try and have a meeting at the beginning of every week, also going into the month. We share a calendar as well. And then we just make sure that we're aligned on the childcare. We have someone who helps us drop the kids off, and Chris largely will still pick them up. And then with the nights and weekends, if neither of us are available, we just have to rely on support. And I have a video on the channel about literally being able to ask for help, because I don't know that we would have coped over the last 2 years at least if we didn't.
Yeah, I think, I think it's just trying to be as organised as you can, I guess, is quite useful. So again, I think whereas obviously it is quite an intense period for us both, we're both working on call, I have the slight benefit, I guess, of knowing when I'm potentially going to be away and that looking at the fixture list, so which you get to some degree in advance of the time, but obviously again the day-to-day schedule can change and can obviously affect our routine on a daily basis. But so just planning really ahead, looking at the fixtures, looking at where I'm going to be. Am I in London? Am I out of London? Am I away? Am I abroad? That's what I would say. Just trying to be organised as possible around the fixture list. I think what's useful with GP, again, it's more predictable in the sense that you know when you're working, when you're not working, albeit you could be staying longer than the time you're meant to be there. Just try not to plan things in and around work, especially as you could be delayed. Again, this probably goes more back to GP, I think, where you're often running late because you don't have enough time to see patients, and what you don't want to be doing is working knowing you need to be out of the building to collect kids or something like that. So just not planning, trying to a little bit of leeway, I think is the right word to say in terms of when you finish. So obviously Remy backing me up on that, or family, helps a lot, I think. And I have learned to appreciate how stressful it is to try and get your work day done when you know that you've got kids waiting for you, and definitely like the guilt around maybe picking them up late, which thankfully hasn't happened too often, or getting them late into school. So I think there's a lot of running around, but what in summary keeps us sane is organisation, communicating very openly about our work schedule. So like I get my rota for a year, and again I need to consider Chris's schedule for the year, and then what the kids are doing, what the holidays are like, and where we can get people to plug the gap if we genuinely can't do it. But it's not easy, but I think those 3 or 4 things will like keep you sane a little bit. By the way, I am astounded the kids have there's not been an accident where they've not been picked up by one of us.
I was honestly, like, what do you mean accident?
As organised as I'd like to say we are, I still cannot believe there's not been a time when one of us has thought the other person was picking them up. So,
But do you know when that
happens?
Do you know when that happens though? It's because we do speak, like literally at the beginning of the week, we're like, who's doing what? Who needs after school care? Who needs breakfast club? But during the day as well, there is definitely like around 1 or 2 o'clock. If it's a day that we're both not sure, there'll be a text like, who's getting the kids today?
Stay tuned though. There might be a vlog about it. Might be a vlog soon about forgotten child off after school.
Hopefully not. That would be like my worst nightmare. And like if I'm going into theatre and I'm scrubbed up and I can't get access to my phone, again, I'll text Chris and be like, you're picking them up, right? I'm unreachable for X amount of time. So definitely if he then wasn't picking them up and he knows I'm not, then I've got my sisters, their grandma, they could literally then step in last minute.
Just to clarify, NSPCC, by the way, we've never forgotten our kids at school.
Or left them at home. Or, got the timings wrong with the night shift and the day shift.
Let's just clear that up.
So there's a question that I'm going to answer that Chris didn't really want to, but like, how do you handle guilt or stress when work takes you away from like family time? And so I think my answer for this is that in the UK, I think largely doctors are underpaid and we are overworked, and therefore there's this compulsion to make more money, right? So then not only are you doing your normal job, like Chris is he's a football doctor and a GP on top, right? And sometimes there'll be like GP locums that come up that he might then take on. I also have side hustles that pay, and it's the need for managing your lifestyle, and we live within our means anyway, but then that I think compounds and then takes you away from family. Like at the moment we're filming this video, the kids are upstairs, we've had to pause many times, and I think I'm moving away from the term guilt because I want to be the best mum that I could be, I want to be the best wife that I can be, but also I need to be the best version of me. And some of the, our career, like Chris is, in my opinion, living his dream job. I wouldn't want him necessarily to give that up just so that he could be around more for the kids. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's just about appreciating that we do what we do because we like it, and we're managing because we're managing. But I would love more money so I could pay for more help or have more downtime.
Okay, yeah. Is that you answering the question?
I think so.
Okay.
How do I handle guilt? I try to rationalize what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the purpose of our working hard is. And it's definitely to give our kids a great life and to give us a great life. And we do have an end goal. Like, we're not going to be working this much for the rest of our lives, right?
Yeah. No, I think I agree with what you said. You know, that you do get into that vicious cycle where you do want to. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to work more to make ends meet, or to make sure when you are with the kids you have a good time. Yeah, I do get it. I think it's always useful having a bit of a break point, I guess, if that makes sense, so knowing that you're working towards something, a little bit of a break. So having like that holiday that you and the kids and the family are looking forward to often helps. And I think just knowing that when you are on those breaks, you're going to completely shut off and not going to be working, which I look pot calling the kettle black in my eyes, because I find it difficult to do as well. But I think even just getting away with the kids and knowing and giving them that time,
like quality time,
is useful, and that often helps a little bit, I guess, with the stress and the guilt you feel when you are working.
So last question, what advice would you give to other parents in high pressure careers trying to make it all work? So I think we kind of covered this with the tips, right? I think communicating a shared calendar is a godsend, because like, against my will, I know fixtures that I don't really want to know, but it's helpful for planning. But also making sure that like the kids' tennis is on there and the swimming is on there and my own personal stuff is on there. Like, having a shared calendar is like my major tip, because then you can keep an eye on what everyone is doing and what's supposed to be happening when. Yeah, and then the communication aspect as well. Like, you truly have to communicate. Even when you're stressed, even when you're arguing, like, you need to make sure that you are on top of the house plan.
So pressure's good, number one. What I would say, however, is maintaining that outside of work is also not a bad thing.
Maintaining life outside.
Yeah. And having lots of things on with the kids, for example, family, is also not a bad thing. But, and there is a big, massive but here, it all can come crashing down at some point, and you can really kind of mentally be exhausted, physically exhausted. You're not really giving goes back to that word, that quality time to your kids. You're finding yourself a little bit spread out. So I think my thing is, yes, these are all good things, and it is, if you have the energy and to do it, good at first, but within reason and over time, it's, I think with your line of work as well, just streamlining things so you know what you're potentially good at, what you're going to push on at, what's going to make you the most successful, and likewise with family life. I think streamlining that eventually, knowing what your kids are good at, what they really enjoy, what is going to make them develop as quickly as possible, be that education, be that activities, whatever you want, sport, if your child's into sport. So just streamlining it as well.
Yeah.
Hope I made sense there.
I hope so too.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So no, I agree with that. I do think that what you said about like there needs to be break points, like going on trips, but there also needs to be break points in life, full stop, right? You both can't work. We both can't work at the intensity that we do work now,
exactly,
for long periods of time. And I think we obviously are going to have a discussion, or will keep having the discussion about when is it that one of us is going to give, right? Because again, I think when you're raising kids, my own personal opinion is that they do need some stability, and they do need a parent that has the time to get them into sports, or to get them in to the,
and to focus on it, focus on it, not just be a spectator.
Yeah, exactly. But also to make them feel like super comfortable at home. Like, I've had a lot of the summer off, and I feel like the kids have done well for it, and they've enjoyed being home. Whereas last summer I had lots of work on, and they were in nursery and holiday camps a lot more. So I do see the difference, but it's hard, and it's just deciding again, what is it you want from your life? What is it you want for your kids? What is it you want for your life as a family, as a marriage? And although you can work really, really hard, which we both do and have done now, at least at this intensity, it feels like for 6-7 years, I'm hopeful that in the next year or two that we kind of slow down and just enjoy life,
Yeah, that's important as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? With your family, right? And so that's the end goal, isn't it? At the end of the day. So I guess working towards that is essentially what that how we answered that question, I guess.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope that this video gave you some value. I hope that you enjoyed having Chris on the channel. Please leave a comment down below and let us know how you manage it. If there's something that you think we could incorporate into our lives, we would love the advice, we would love the feedback. And yeah, just leave a comment down below.
Can I say this bit? I've always wanted to say this.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, so what he said. And then catch you in my next video. Peace.